doing anything to sustain. How can we do this?
You need first to see that in terms of German investment in Egypt, all the big players are already here. So the next step would be to entice the small and medium-sized companies to come. We have a culture of a kind of outsourcing and job sharing between the large companies and the smaller ones. So it is not that one company is manufacturing a product from A to Z. Research could be done by a small specialized engineering company. Then a part of components could be supplied by others. So it's always a cluster of companies that are working together in order to save cost. Right now, for small and medium-sized companies, Egypt needs to offer more incentives to help them. There is a language barrier for them, of course. Of course, luckily, right now, the Germans, they know how to speak English.
And a lot of Egyptians know how to speak German now.
Speak German like this one. But you need to know that we do about 60% of our business in Europe. So Germany as a global player, sometimes I say, well, we are more a European player. And once we go to Africa, once we go to the Middle East, it is an entirely different culture. That is a big step for a small family-owned enterprise. And in particular right now, as the economy is booming at home, it is double difficult to tell them, and now you should venture abroad, because they say the easy business is at home. So why should I venture abroad? Now, we are telling them, listen, you are depending on exports. Germany's secret is to be an export nation. We knew since World War II we cannot sustain ourselves just with a local market. And that was one of the recipes where we developed the economy. And within the Middle East, Egypt is definitely the market to be. I'm not saying this one right now because I'm sitting here, but I believe in this one. It's the market size. It is the location, but it is as well the power of the people. We need to harness the experience, the workforce of these 90 million people, as well the purchasing power. So what Germany can contribute and what these small specialized companies can contribute is indeed what you say, the know-how. And that is training, training, training. Here we still have a big deficit, and what we do is we put the burden of the training to the business community, because we feel a government cannot train millions of people. You cannot have so many schools. The training has to be done at the workplace, because at the workplace you have normally the latest state of the art, the technology, so you give to the young people a lot of know-how which they need then to carry forward. And we have the system of lifelong learning, so it never stops. And I believe that we have a lot of Germans who would be willing to share this know-how. They need just a little bit encouragement to come right now. Right now, of course, we are fighting with the media. If anything is happening in Syria, it tarnishes the reputation of the entire region. This Egyptians feeling this in terms of tourism. I mean, now we are safe. It's calm. I spent my Christmas vacation here. So really
since you raised the issue of the media, maybe I'll deviate just slightly and ask you, because maybe you would be a more credible source than myself or Dr. Nader in reality. When you see the coverage, you've been living in Egypt since 2008. You've been living through the difficult times. When you see the coverage in most Western media, I don't want to say in our media, because our media is not catered to outside, aside from maybe this channel, but that coverage, and you see the concern abroad, what message would you be saying? Maybe to even the people that are embarking and doing the business, the journalists that are out in the field, because as you were saying, the impression is drawing maybe scary.
I think one of the major problems is, and I do not want to enter into a bashing of media in a sense, but it's the lack of time now. We are sitting here, at least you dedicate us 1 hour. Usually an interview in German TV is 1.5 minutes. And they try then to cover what happens in Midan Tahrir in 1.5 minutes. And what you see is, of course, you see tear gas, you see fire, and like this. And then the viewer, he says, oh my God, what is happening in Cairo.
Was your family in Germany concerned?
Absolutely. They were calling me and said, what is happening? I said, well, I'm here. I'm in Tahrir Square. What? How can, are you crazy? I said, nobody is doing anything. Yeah? But this you can only do if you have time to explain. And then the second problem is we are in a different culture. If we talk democracy, we have democracy in Germany with up and downs. We had a terrible regime, democratically elected like this, but since hundreds of years. Now, the media are looking here to Egypt and they say, oh, you have to make democracy within 2 years, please. Everything should be fine like this. So I think this is...
Has any country in Europe been able to do this perfect democratic package in 2 years?
I would even dispute that any country in Europe has an absolutely perfect democratic system.
I love your honesty. And your diplomatic answer towards the media is but I'm sure that people can read between the lines. Dr. Riad, as you're a member of the Egyptian Federation of Industries, one of the problems that maybe Dr. Herret was maybe diplomatic about maybe voicing, and that is we have a lot of laws, rules and regulations which really do their best. They've been designed to drive away the investor, to say the least. What is the Egyptian Federation of Industries doing so that while we're talking about change, and we really are trying to change everything right now, and our president is adamant on cracking the whip to change. What is being done so that maybe we reform some of the rules and regulations so that the foreign investor feels safe, that if he puts his money in Egypt today in a business, some kind of a law will not be issued and then he'd find himself out in the street with nothing?
What we really fear is the red tape. The red tape could lead us sometimes infinitely to nowhere. The competitiveness of any industry is based on 3 things: management of time, management of energy, management of resources. Human resources are a part of energy, human energy.
And we have this in abundance.
Yes. So if we lose the track, the fast track of time, our economy is finished, is wasted.
Yes.
The development of industry is based on how to cut short the waste of material, cost, and other elements. So unless we know how much time it will take us to finish the process, we are talking nonsense. The dialogue between traditional Egyptian industries and the governments is continuous. We are asked about the projects of laws before they are issued, and we give analytical opinion about each of them, and luckily we have a good ear from the government. And the communication channels are all open. So I'm optimistic in the sense that both government and businesses do realize now that they have common interest. They have integrated interest in each other. This common interest will be much helpful for both sides to find better solutions. Luckily, the phase we are living is seeking a better levels of solutions, fast-track solutions, and bringing honesty and openness to the front line. So I'm optimistic. I'm not undermining the volume of the problems we have, but I consider them as challenges that we could beat if government and productive community are one hand.
Okay. When we talk about getting the German business community to come and invest in Egypt, as the head of the CEO of the German Chamber of Industry and Commerce, I would assume maybe some of the German businessmen ask you about invest in what? Now that Egypt is going through a new phase, where's the potential?
There is potential in many sectors. The very obvious and new one is now renewable energy, of course. This is the real hype after we have the feed-in law, after the Egyptians are realizing that there is wind and sun in abundance, and maybe driven as well by the
Well, they've always knew there was, but maybe they were too lazy to do anything about it. It's another issue.
As long as there is enough energy, then you don't cherish it. But I think now there is a change of mindset. But as you said, Germany is an industrial country. We have almost no machine building in Egypt. This could be and should be the backbone of the Egyptian industry. And here, that
when you say no machine building, what do you mean by no machine building?
That means Egypt is importing 95% of its machines. There is no local machine manufacturing or machine tool manufacturing. This is imported. But we have engineers here. We have technical colleges. It's just somebody has to start and then to build this one, and then it would save a lot of money that needs to be spent to import it. And then, based on this machine building, you have a large variety